Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with a couple of different 9mm firearms. They're both from Palmetto State Armory. The first one is a carbine, but is also available as a pistol. And this is the AR-V. And this thing showed up in 2020. It was when I first heard anything about that particular firearm. And then we have the AK-V9, which showed up late 2018, early 2019, and is based on the AK. But before we get into today's video to talk about these two firearms, first I want to take a moment to ask you guys, if you enjoy our content, to please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you, again, enjoy the content, it just takes a moment to click that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Also, comment down below, because first of all, we enjoy reading those comments, and second of all, it helps us with the algorithms. With that being said, let's get started with today's video. Guys, please swing by and check out Big Daddy Unlimited, BDU. They help support us here at the Military Arms channel with products and things like that so we can continue to bring you content. There's a link in the video description down below that'll take you to the Mac blog and website. Please follow that link, and from there you'll find a link to Big Daddy Unlimited, and try them out just for 99 cents. You can see what they're all about. In essence, they're just like a big online store that has amazing prices. So please, again, check out BDU. The AK-V9 is something that really caught my attention early on because at the time I was looking for a Russian Vitez. There were parts kits that were circulating out there on places like Gunbroker, and some folks were building them, but they were hard to come by. But rumors were swirling that companies were working on 9mm AKs. Chase over at Definitive Arms put out the first 9mm AK that I'm aware of that was commercially successful on the US market. And then the AK-V9 came a couple of years after that gun had already gone out of production. This gun is extremely well built, but first, when the guns came out, we did discover some problems with the gun. And there were a few things that I had pointed out that the gun had problems with. First of all was the fact that a spent case could fall back into the trigger mechanism and cause the gun then to malfunction. And also the previous version of this gun only had this little rubber buffer back here and didn't have this aluminum block. And so the bolt would come all the way back, but if this rubber buffer were to break down, wear out, you take it apart, lose it, whatever, the bolt would come all the way back without this buffer in here and hang up on the hammer and wouldn't be able to go home. And so Palmetto State Armory made a couple of changes. They put what was called the MAC bracket inside the receiver that would keep live and spent cases from falling back into the action of the gun. And then they put this aluminum block back here that shortens the throw of the bolt considerably, but should this rubber buffer go bad or go missing, the gun will still continue to function without it being present. So they fixed those problems with the gun, and after that, I've shot this gun quite a bit. This one again has the Fostech Echo trigger in it. We've shot it in echo mode, which is firing on pull, firing on release, and just before ammunition became hard to come by, we really ran this thing hard and had a lot of fun with it, and it's been 100% reliable. Its only downside, it's a little bit heavy, has the AK ergonomics, so you have the charging handle over here, your selector lever over here, things like that, and some folks just don't like AKs. I think this thing is an exceptionally good looking gun, and what really made it stand out was the fact that it made use of commonly available and affordable Scorpion EVO magazines. But later, Palmetto State Armory would also come out with their own 35-round magazines, which is 5 rounds more than the standard Scorpion EVO mag. And these mags will work in a Scorpion EVO, or they'll work in the AK-V9. There's even extenders that you can put on the base of these that add another 5 or 6 rounds to the magazine yet again. So the guns are really high quality. The fit and finish on them is really nice. I enjoy this gun quite a bit. People ask me what the muzzle device is. It's a fake booster. It's a fake hobo brake. It's available. It's just a machined piece of aluminum. It's available over on the PSA website when it's in stock. I found it in stock once and picked it up and just threaded it on there. But it doesn't really do anything. It just makes the gun look cool, I think. And then back here we have, because it's a pistol, a triangle side folding brace from SB Tactical, which just kind of completes the look. This little gun is a little bit heavy, and its recoil impulse is, I don't know, it's like a sharp recoil impulse because it has such a short throw to the bolt now, but it actually shoots really well and feels really good. Now, because of its recoil impulse being so short and abrupt, you can't really feel the bolt lock open. At least I can't, but visually you'll see the charging handle locked to the rear. It has an AK flapper type magazine, but the bolt stays to the rear. It does have a bolt release over here on the left-hand side of the mag well, which is machined aluminum. And so you would just put another magazine into the gun, hit the bolt release, charge it, and resume shooting. Very, very neat little gun. But we've already talked about the AKV9 quite a bit. Let's take a look at the AR-V, and I call it the ARV9 because it's a 9mm, but it's called the ARV, which is the AR version of their 9mm offering, which is available both as a pistol and as a carbine. PSA, or Palmetto State Armory, is really known for their AR-15 rifles. That's where they kind of got their start. People have been buying and using their build kits and buying their firearms for a long, long time, and they've represented a good value on the market for those people that are budget conscious and don't, have $2,000 to spend on a high-end AR. They can go spend, less than $1,000 typically on a PSA and get a very functional gun. Many times you can upgrade them with FN barrels and things like that. And so they've really earned a reputation as being a very pro 2A company and being, a decent company for the price. They really offer a good product for an affordable price. They're not trying to compete with the Noveskis out there of the world. So the AKV9 came first. This thing, again, first popped on my radar in 2020. And so a lot of people ask me what I thought of it. Well, I didn't know what to think of it because I hadn't picked one up until just recently. As of the recording of as of this recording of the video, they are in stock, and they have been in stock now for quite some time. Every time I check back, they still have them in stock, at least the pistols and carbines. And so I don't know, I guess they just don't have the same demand for these as they do the AKV9s. Given it's kind of an AR country and everybody likes AR-15s, it's kind of surprising to me. But then again, 9mm ARs are nothing new. There are a ton of companies out there offering their version of an AR-15 and 9mm. But let's go over some of the features of the gun. First of all, it has, a standard AR-15 type extension tube back here with adjustable stock, has a standard AR-15 charging handle, which can be swapped out with others. And then you have standard AR-15 fire controls. Over here we have nothing, but we have the safe and fire over here. On the right-hand side of the receiver, there's no forward assist. You have an ejection port with no cover. And then you'll notice there's no button here for releasing the magazine. That's because, again, it uses the Scorpion EVO magazine, which locks in much like an AK magazine. It locks on the rear portion of the mag. And so you have your mag release right here, which is kind of sculpted into the trigger guard. So instead of having a push button, that you have this ambi tab that you can hit from either side of the gun with your index finger, which will drop the magazine out. Instead of having the ping pong paddle, as I call it, over on the left-hand side of the receiver, we have a control that's very reminiscent of the AKV9, which is this bolt release and bolt hold open button right here on the magazine well. Sorry guys, the wind is really, really bad today. Coming out here, we have just a standard lightweight M-LOK rail system on it. You can pick this up in any number of different configurations, so I'm not going to get too heavy into the configuration of this particular firearm. Out here on the end, we do have a threaded barrel with a standard A2 type bird cage with the bottom being solid, and then a standard crush washer. It's threaded, I would imagine, 1/2 by 28. I haven't pulled it off to check it, but that would make sense. Therefore, it would be easily suppressible. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of shooting at 100 yards on a challenge man-sized target down there. And we're just using a red dot sight, going to shoot it off a rest. Give you a general idea of what the accuracy is like on this thing. We have a really strong, like 20-mile-an-hour wind coming across the range right now. We just fired one group. It looks like it's a little bit low right. So this may be pushed a little bit low right too, but I'm still using the same dead hold. So let's take a look inside the lower receiver. Back here we have a fire control pocket, which is normal. You'll find just a standard AR-15 M16 trigger back here. Moving forward is where things get a little bit proprietary. Not a little bit, but completely. So right here next to my index finger is the block that houses the bolt stop. So as I push up on the bolt stop, you can see that bolt stop rise up, and that's what's going to lock your bolt to the rear on the last round hold open. Just to the left of that is the ejector. And 2 roll pins go through the receiver to hold the ejector in place. Down here is the bolt stop, bolt release, and then the mag catch assemblies, and those are also held in place by roll pins through the aluminum lower receiver. On the front, we have the feed ramp, and this feed ramp is held in place by 2 screws. I find that curious. I would think a roll pin would be used to hold this in place, but they've used 2 screws. Now the screws do sit behind the takedown pin. Whether or not that blocks their travel, should they become loose, I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting to point out. On the bolt looks to be nitrided. It's very smooth. Machining looks to be of quality. Here we have a large extractor that's held in place by a roll pin through the bolt. You can see the bolt face. I'm going to take a spent case here and show that the extractor does grab a hold of the case, holds onto it very tightly, and that's going to become relevant here in a moment. But the roll pin right there holds the extractor in place. On top, where your gas key would be, we have just this block that's held in place by 2 screws. The screws are not, they're not staked. So, you know, those could walk out, I guess, or you could stake them yourself or put Loctite on them. Cotter pin over here, just like a standard AR-15 M16 bolt carrier. That holds the firing pin in place. The firing pin does have a spring on it. And then back here, of course, the weight is added to the carrier. Or I guess this is a bolt, not a carrier, to give it some extra mass. On the upper receiver, I'm by no means an expert on AR-15 M16 rails, but this is a very minimalistic rail. You have M-lock on the top, on both sides, and on the bottom. Have a QD sling mount up here on the front end of the rail. On top, you have the pick rail extend out slightly here, goes down to M-lock, then comes back to a pick rail up here. Presumably you could put like backup sights or something like that on it. Appears to be the same height as the rail back here, so that would work out. The rail is held in place. There's a little screw here on top, a little block that goes through that it draws up against, and then on the bottom you have 3 screws that are pinching the rail and holding it in place. Lightweight. So the gun looks to be quality. We've never had a malfunction with the gun of any kind. Now, the only ammunition I've fired out of it is ball, 115 grain Federal and 124 grain Federal. And again, I've never cleared a malfunction. So this next issue, when it popped up, was a little bit surprising. So the problem that we keep randomly encountering is that right there. It did not grab the round in the chamber. If I let this go, it's now going to cause a malfunction. Drop the mag out. So you can see the round in there. And this happens with, they grabbed it that time. This happens with the 124 grain and the 115 grain. But we go in to clear the weapon. Just sometimes it won't grab that round in there. Eventually, sometimes it will get underneath the extractor claw. Other times it won't. We've examined the extractor claw. It freely moves. It has a nice sharp edge. As I demonstrated, it'll hold on to the rim of a case. I don't know if the headspace is out of whack on this gun or what, but again, we've had no malfunctions with it whatsoever. So, yeah, it's weird. That was 115 grain, I think, and this is probably 124, or vice versa, but it's a mix. Runs like a sewing machine, but if you have to clear it, you might run into a problem with the round staying in the chamber. That's just so weird. And we have looked it over, tried to figure out if there was just a piece of brass or shaving or something that got underneath the extractor claw, and we can find nothing that would cause that. Everything seems to be functioning normally, with the exception that we can't pull a live round out of the chamber every once in a while. And that is a problem. We're going to fire off 35 rounds, the only full magazine of today's video, just to show you guys that the gun works with a full 35 round magazine. Again, we're using some Federal 115 grain ball. All right, guys, I'm going to try 200 yards using some Federal 115 grain ball, and I have to hold like basically at a point in space about a man high of the man size, a full man high, and then about a man left. And I think with the wind and everything that's going on in bullet drop, that's pretty much where my hold is right there. Oh, I saw that one. Oh. So yeah, I'm aiming, if the man is this tall, I'm aiming up about that high and then about a man left to make those connections at 200 yards. That's fun though. Well, you guys asked me what my opinion of the AR-V was, and it's mixed. Typical Mac fashion, I got a broken one. Could it be an ammunition problem? Sure, it could be, but we fire this ammunition through every 9mm you've ever seen featured here on the channel before, and it's never caused this problem. So I doubt that the 9mm is out of spec. Matter of fact, other 9mm guns we have out here this afternoon run it just fine. It's got to be something wrong with this gun. Now, in quality assurance at PSA, they probably didn't run across the problem, because if you put 10 rounds in it, it's going to cycle those 10 rounds. You're only going to run into the problem if you try to take out a live round to clear the weapon to make it safe, or try to clear a malfunction. And so that's probably how it slipped through quality control. For $1,000 though, I would expect the design and the quality of manufacturing to be such that things like this just simply wouldn't happen. Is it a design failure of the bolt and the extractor? Could be, I don't know. I'm not an engineer. You guys wanted my opinion. For $1,129, I wouldn't expect to have that problem. And so not all that thrilled about having to send it back to have warranty work done. But once I get it fixed, you'll see it again here on the channel, and I'll give you guys an update. So, is it worth the money? Well, that's a $1,000 headache for me, so you guys be the judge. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel to bring you honest, unbiased information as humanly possible, like this, we're not supported by the gun companies, we're supported by you, our viewing audience, so we can have those honest opinions. We can only accomplish that through Patreon due to demonetization here on YouTube. There's a link down below. Consider becoming part of our Patreon family. We've built a great community over there. You have direct access to me. I answer all your private communications. You get to watch videos like this early before the rest of the world gets to see them, and all sorts of other cool stuff. So again, follow that link and consider becoming part of our Patreon family. Right here on YouTube, underneath the video player you're watching right now, there's a join button. Give that join button a click and support us right here on YouTube. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Thank you for 13 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.